The Puebloans, or Pueblo peoples, are Native Americans indigenous to the southwestern United States. They share common agricultural, material, and religious practices, which have persisted for millennia. Today, notable Pueblo communities include Teos, San Ildefonso, Acoma, Tsuni, and Hopi. These communities speak languages from 4 distinct language families, with each Pueblo further divided culturally by kinship systems and agricultural methods. While all Pueblo peoples cultivate maize, their practices vary, reflecting the diverse environments they inhabit. The Pueblo peoples trace their ancestry to the ancestral Puebloans, who built complex societies in the American Southwest long before European contact. Although the term Anasazi has been used historically to describe these early people, it is now largely avoided due to its Navajo origin meaning ancient ones, or ancient enemies, which carries a negative connotation. The Spanish word Pueblo translates to village, reflecting the Spaniards' first impression of the multi-story adobe and stone settlements they encountered in the 16th century, when they began colonizing the region that is now New Mexico. New Mexico remains home to the largest number of federally recognized Pueblo communities, though other communities exist in Arizona and Texas, mainly along the Rio Grande, Colorado River, and their tributaries. These communities have retained much of their traditional culture, with an emphasis on agriculture, tightly knit family clans, and respect for religious traditions. Despite centuries of colonization, the Puebloans have shown remarkable resilience, maintaining core aspects of their cultural identity and even integrating elements of Christianity into their traditional practices to create a syncretic form of Pueblo Christianity. Exact population numbers are difficult to determine, but in the 21st century, it is estimated that around 75,000 Pueblo people live primarily in New Mexico and Arizona, with smaller populations in Texas and other states. Pueblo society embodies a blend of 3 major prehistoric cultures that dominated the Southwest: the Mogollon, Hohokam, and ancestral Pueblo cultures. Each of these cultures made significant contributions to the development of Puebloan society. The Mogollon culture, centered around the Gila wilderness, was initially composed of foragers who gradually adopted farming around the first millennium CE. By the 10th to 12th centuries CE, the Mogollon people had established permanent villages with water control systems to support agriculture. Early Mogollon villages consisted of small hamlets with pit houses, dwellings excavated into the ground with roofs supported by wooden posts and beams. Over time, these pit houses evolved into ground-level stone and adobe dwellings. By the 13th and 14th centuries, cliff dwellings became a common feature in Mogollon settlements, offering protection from raiders. The Hohokam culture, whose name is derived from the O'odham language meaning those who have vanished, flourished in the region now known as southern Arizona. The Hohokam were master engineers, constructing extensive irrigation canals as early as the 9th century CE. These canals allowed them to cultivate crops in the arid desert environment, supporting a large and thriving population. Archaeological evidence suggests that the ancestors of the Hohokam may have inhabited the region as early as 2000 BCE. By the middle of the 15th century, the Hohokam culture began to decline, likely due to environmental changes and social pressure. The ancestral Puebloans are perhaps best known for their stone and earth dwellings built into cliff walls, particularly during the Pueblo III eras, roughly 900 to 1350 CE. These impressive structures, such as those found at Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde, are now protected as national monuments and parks, including Navajo National Monument, Chaco Culture National Historical Park, and Mesa Verde National Park. The early homes and villages of the ancestral Puebloans were initially pith houses, but by 1050 CE, they had developed complex, planned villages composed of large, multi-roomed terrace buildings made of stone and adobe. These ancient towns and cities were strategically located on defensible sites, such as mesa tops and cliff edges, offering protection from raiding parties, including the Comanche and Navajo. The largest of these villages, Pueblo Bonito in Chaco Canyon, contained over 700 rooms and may have housed up to 1,000 people. The interconnected roadways and vast trade networks linking these settlements indicate a highly organized society with far-reaching influence. Before 1598, Spanish exploration of Pueblo lands was limited to a few transitory expeditions. However, this changed with the arrival of Juan Doñat and his colonizers at the end of the 16th century. The Spanish sought not only to control the region, but also to convert the Pueblo peoples to Christianity. Initial interactions were relatively peaceful, but tensions grew as Spanish demands increased, culminating in efforts to suppress Pueblo religious practices and replace them with Catholicism. These efforts met with strong resistance. The Pueblo Revolt of 1680 stands as a testament to the Pueblo people's resilience. This uprising, led by a religious leader named Pope, successfully expelled the Spanish from the region for over a decade. The revolt was fueled by years of religious persecution, forced labor, and drought-induced hardship. Although the Spanish eventually reconquered the area, the Pueblo peoples continued to resist cultural assimilation. Today, many Pueblo communities still practice their traditional religions alongside Catholicism, celebrating syncretic feast days that blend both traditions. Pueblo life revolves around agriculture, particularly the cultivation of maize, which has been a staple crop for thousands of years. Archaeological evidence suggests that maize cultivation in the southwest dates back to around 2100 BCE. Early maize cobs found at sites in New Mexico and Arizona indicate that the crop was introduced from Mesoamerica and quickly adapted to the region's arid climate. Pueblo farmers developed innovative agricultural techniques, including terracing and irrigation, to maximize their yields. In addition to farming, the Pueblo peoples have a rich tradition of pottery, weaving, and other crafts. Pottery, in particular, holds both practical and ceremonial significance. Each Pueblo community developed distinct styles and techniques, often using locally sourced clay and natural pigments. The intricate designs on Pueblo pottery often reflect spiritual beliefs and cultural stories, making these artifacts valuable both historically and artistically. Religious ceremonies remain central to Pueblo life. Many of these ceremonies involve traditional dances held in large communal plazas. While some dances are open to the public, others are private, reserved for community members only. Visitors to public dances are expected to adhere to strict rules of conduct, such as refraining from clapping or interrupting the dancer. Traditionally, outsiders who attended these dances were offered a meal afterward in a Pueblo home, though this practice is now limited to those with personal invitations due to the influx of tourists. Despite centuries of colonization and cultural pressure, the Pueblo peoples have managed to preserve their way of life, blending old traditions with new influences. Their ability to adapt while maintaining their identity serves as a powerful example of cultural resilience. Today, the Pueblo communities continue to thrive, honoring their ancestors through the continuation of their rich cultural heritage.